days at the stick. From who's got it better than us to brick by brick. It's always the 49ers way, from off-season to game day. Yeah, we talk back. It's the 49ers Cutback.
It's 49ers Cutback podcast time. Welcome to the show, everyone. Upon further review, guess what, guys? The run game is back, and it was a lot of fun watching this game back on the All-22, getting to see the 49ers run game like we have grown to love it through the years. The creativeness was there, the execution was there, and Christian McCaffrey, all you have to do is give him space, and he's going to make things happen. And that was one of the most exciting things to watch, was just the consistency. And, I was there, so I watched it live, and you could see some of the intricacies of the run game and some of the motions and the movement and the things that were happening, the domination by guys like Colt McKivitz. But I thought that when you really turned on the film is where you got to see a little bit more. You got to see sometimes when Christian McCaffrey just made some really good reads and proved why he's been an all-pro running back and one of the best running backs in this league for a long time. And in my opinion, a future Hall of Famer. But you got to see some of the execution portions of some guys you haven't seen execute really well in the blocking. So I do want to talk a lot about in the run game in this, because I think it's going to be pivotal for the success of the San Francisco 49ers in 2025, this run game and the run game continuing to evolve and continuing to take charge in some of these football games. But I'm going to talk about everything, all the offense. I'm going to talk about defense, what I saw on film. Of course, if you are looking for film breakdowns, those are available over on Patreon. I have the first half offense and defense. Those are available right now. There's also a standalone episode of the Ant Hill Show that's going to be going live in just a little bit. I'm going to put that up. And so there is a lot of content over on Patreon for you to check out if that's something you're interested in. But you're here, you want to hear about the run game, and upon further review, what I saw on film. So here comes the coaching points for what I was able to see on film. Please like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. If you're listening audio platform, 49ers Cutback on Believe Network, please give it a 5-star rating. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel, the title sponsor of 49ers Cutback. So let's get into it. This 49ers run game absolutely needed to come back in a big way against the Atlanta Falcons. And when it came to how they were going to approach the Atlanta Falcons, it was pretty clear to see where the bubble in the defense, that's what I always talk about, the place that you want to attack was going to be. It was going to be those outside linebackers. It was going to be that space between your defensive end and your outside linebacker in that 3-4 defense. It's not something uncommon. The 49ers have played against a lot of 3-4 defenses this year. But I have to say, against the Atlanta Falcons, this was probably playing against the guys who are the weakest at stopping the run on the edge. Now, Leonard Floyd, he did a really good job out on the outside. I thought Leonard Floyd still played a good game. Now, the 49ers were able to still attack his side, still able to execute in that direction. But when they went against the other guys like Arnold Ebiketie and some of the other defensive edge rushers for the Atlanta Falcons, they were able to execute. Now, it wasn't always pretty. They didn't make every single block, of course, but they made them for the most part. And that's exactly what you wanted to do. So you knew the game plan was going to be to attack those certain locations. Well, Atlanta, they're smart coaches. Raheem Morris, right? You got Jeff Ulbrich. They know where you're going to attack because they know the weaknesses of their defense as well. So early in the game, they were putting linebackers in those spots, right? They're putting Divine Diablo. They're putting him there. They're putting Christian Ellis. They're going to get those guys in that location and try to prevent you from being able to run there. The 49ers were like, that's cool. We know exactly how to execute against this. And they did. And so we got like a whole tiered portion of why this run game worked. First off, it had to have really good blocking. And I will say this is one of the best blocking efforts the 49ers have put out in a long time. They had some good ones in 2024. I would say 2023 was their best. I think that this was kind of in line with that. It had a few of the things that you need to have to be a really dominant run game. And the one cool thing about a run game is it just never quits, right? A passing game, it can go through lulls, but a run game, if you execute right, it never quits. It uses the clock. It runs down defenses. It tires them out. It gives you an opportunity to make a lot of big plays. So Christian McCaffrey's the first one I want to talk about. And then we're going to get into all the blocking and why. But McCaffrey did a lot of things when it came to vision that were special. There were times that he saw holes and he was able to cut against the grain, go the opposite way of where the play was designed, or even take the cutback lane. One of the very first runs of the game, Christian McCaffrey's going to get an explosive run. I think he got 9 yards. He runs to the right. It's an outside zone to the right. They're attacking that window we're talking about. They want to get a push on Arnold Ebiketie. They want to run inside of it right there. They brought Christian Ellis into that hole to take it away. So what you got was really good blocking from the 49ers offensive line as they're moving everybody to the right. And it creates a nice gate. They call it swinging the gate. And a gate opened up. And you've got this whole thing sealed off. All you see is the back of 49ers offensive lineman numbers, 3 of them in a row. McCaffrey puts his foot in the ground as he pressed it to the outside and goes vertical and cuts against the grain, and he gets a really nice gain on an outside zone run. That's the vision. Then the ability to make the cut. Not everybody can make that cut. Some of the former 49ers running backs or even other running backs in the league, they end up running into their offensive linemen. They don't have the ability to make that quick cut, have the vision to be able to see it. And what I love about Christian McCaffrey is it's not enough just to see the hole, but then he stays super tight to Dominic Pooney, his backside, because he sees the safety, Xavier Watts, coming. And so he gets extremely vertical to get as many yards as he possibly can. This is the nuance to the running back room that is so phenomenal. The correct line, the correct cut, staying vertical. Like, this is Bobby Turner teaching tape. Christian McCaffrey executed at that level. So you got really good blocking by the offensive line, but McCaffrey's ability to do that. There's another play I want to bring up because it just highlights how special Christian McCaffrey is. The Atlanta Falcons do late movement. They move a defensive lineman. They move a couple linebackers to the left side. The play is designed to go left. Christian McCaffrey mentally takes note that more guys have moved to one side of the center than the other. And I've talked about this before. You get an 8-man box, you can still run the ball as long as you can get a numbers advantage. 49ers lost their numbers advantage to the left where the play is designed. It's too late in the process for Mac Jones to change the play. They moved late. The ball is snapped. Christian McCaffrey takes the ball and runs to the right and is able to pick up 6 or 7 yards on the play. Those types of things are just the next level things that take your run game to another level. So the run game was executed really well by the guy carrying the ball. And of course, he has to have a lot of things that go his way, but McCaffrey was on it. McCaffrey looked as explosive as we've ever seen him. The vision was there. The jump cuts were there. The power, being able to fight for extra yards, the red zone running, right? It was all there for Christian McCaffrey. This was a complete running back doing the things he needs to do. Question marks about where he's at physically, those need to go away. This guy is playing at the top of his game right now. Is it 2023 level? I don't know if I can say that because 2023 was a special season for Christian McCaffrey. But he is by far a elite running back and probably the best running back in NFL right now with the vision, the explosiveness, his ability to kind of have a feel for what things are going on. Now, I got to talk about George Kittle because George Kittle, we knew he was going to affect the running game, but the numbers and the way that he's affecting the running game are crazy. So with George Kittle on the field, Christian McCaffrey would get 1.4 yards without contact. So he could go 1.4 yards down the field before contact. You want this to be in the 2s. Normally, when you're running the ball successfully, you're not touched for the first couple yards. You're getting to the second level, which is the linebacker level, and you're making things happen there if you're McCaffrey, right? Your vision, your power, being able to kind of lower your shoulder, get a couple extra yards, maybe a juke, make somebody miss, a stiff arm, something like that, gets you some extra yards. But the 49ers haven't had that success. They've been having, I think it was like 0.9 going into this game of yards before contact. Well, in this game, it's extremely highlighted. George Kittle on the field, 1.4 yards per carry before contact. Not bad. Without George Kittle on the field, 12 run snaps without George Kittle on the field, negative 2.3 yards before contact. That means McCaffrey's getting hit in the backfield on plays George Kittle's not in. That was the stark difference between the two. Over 3 yards is the difference between the two. So George Kittle's effect on this offense was felt right away. Number one, you feel it when it comes to the way he executes run blocking. There are things that Kyle Shanahan will do with him that he's tried to do with Jake Tonjes, that he's tried to do with Luke Farrell, that they don't execute to his level. It's not that they can't execute it. It's that they can't execute it to George Kittle's level. Here's an example. You run a simple play where you're going to bring your tight end across the formation post-snap, and he's going to be able to kick an edge rusher out, right? It's a trap play. You come across, boom, hit him, and you want to be able to keep that distance and create a hole. Now, these edge defenders, they want to squeeze it down, and they want to hammer you in. We've seen Luke Farrell execute that. We've seen him not. We've seen Jake Tonjes execute that and execute and not. They're inconsistent. With George Kittle, he's going to execute it 4 out of 5 times. That's the kind of consistency you get from him. So you started seeing some of those creative plays. You also started seeing a lot of 21 personnel where you get the 2 running backs, 1 tight end, with George Kittle being the tight end. But the effectiveness of the offense went up. You're better in running, even if they go to 8 men in the box, because they still fear George Kittle catching the football. He's a dual threat. They don't fear Luke Farrell catching the football. They don't fear Jake Tonjes blocking in the run game. They fear George Kittle. So now you finally got your full complement of guys to help when it comes to the run game. George Kittle and Luke Farrell together, formidable. Luke Farrell as the second tight end in blocking situations, great. Jake Tonjes, as far as the second tight end in passing situations, great. And I said going into last week, the 49ers are going to come into situations, they're going to need to put Luke Farrell in the field and be willing to throw it to him. They did. First quarter catch for a first down. They need to put Jake Tonjes in the backfield, on the field and be willing to run with him out there. They did. First time he was out there, though, Arnold Ebiketie was able to shed the block and stop Christian McCaffrey for about a 2-yard gain, when it should have went for 4 or 5. So you're seeing the effects of George Kittle there. It's improved the running game immensely. It also made things easier for Kyle Juszczyk. Kyle Juszczyk is a great fullback. He's a great blocker. He's got a unique set of skills that he can make a lot of things happen in the passing game. But when you get him and Kittle together with the things that they're able to do, the speed, the athleticism, the motion, moving them around, you also have somebody you can count on. So many times this year, we've had Jake Tonjes blocking somebody out on the outside or Luke Farrell, and Kyle Juszczyk would have to come through and give help and then try to press the second level. 49ers didn't do that with George Kittle. George Kittle took care of business here on the edge defender, and Kyle Juszczyk went upfield to get somebody else. Or Kyle Juszczyk took advantage of the edge defender, and George Kittle went up the field. It was being able to believe in each other and not have to give extra help. That's what helps things out. When you can go one man on one man, your run game has the ability to be dynamic. One of the things I love about Kyle Shanahan is he said for a long time, he designs every play to go for a touchdown. He doesn't have plays, I'm sure, quarterback sneaks, things like that. We all do. He doesn't have plays that he doesn't think can end up in a touchdown. And yes, you call plays knowing they're just going to get a first down or whatever, but you call them with everything in mind. Like if I get this look and I call this play, it's going to be a touchdown. And that's how Kyle Shanahan does in the run game. And I absolutely love that mindset and that thought process. And I want to talk about Kyle Shanahan and what he was able to do in this game in 1 second. But I want to talk to you about FanDuel, because right now the San Francisco 49ers are a 1.5-point underdog to the Houston Texans on the road against Houston. Now, it's a 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time start time, and so that's probably playing into it. I think this number is going to move, so if you want to bet early, you can get on it. There's all kinds of player props, same game parlays. Those things will be coming up. Check those out. Money line right now, 49ers at plus 100, and the over-under is 41.5, so I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. So that's going to be something to monitor. Some of the injuries and things could play in to what happens with the 49ers. But if you're going to bet with FanDuel. So let's get to Kyle Shanahan, because George Kittle's effect was huge. Christian McCaffrey finding his opportunities is huge. Kyle Juszczyk being able to kind of go back to a similar role that he more is comfortable with, 2019, 2023, counting on George Kittle and those guys kind of playing off each other. is huge. But Kyle Shanahan and the game plan that he came out with in the run game was really good. I love the usage of the outside zone. I love the usage of the gap scheme. And what I really love is some of the plays where you've seen the zone scheme going one way, and then they would pull back and they would trap the other direction and even get some power O type looks. It was a very good scheme, and he was using Atlanta's aggressiveness against them. The very first play I talked about with McCaffrey and him being able to cut back and get vertical and get those big yards. It doesn't happen if it's not. And that was 2nd and 13, by the way. And the 49ers picked up a huge gain to make it 3rd and manageable because the first play was a sack. The second play is a run play. McCaffrey does this. The aggressiveness of Christian Ellis to boom, fly up. It created an opportunity, and the 49ers did that all week, all game, is use Kyle Juszczyk's motion to get the linebackers moving, and Kyle Shanahan did that. So there's one play, they run a toss play, and everyone's probably seen it because Trent Williams is out there laying people out. 49ers ended up getting 9 yards on the play, and it's Brian Robinson running the toss. They had Kyle Juszczyk playing the wing on an ace formation, and he motions back, and then he breaks back out. And when he moved, all 3 linebackers moved 2 steps to the other direction away from the toss play. Now, it might seem insignificant in the moment, right? Oh, 3 guys moved. Who cares? Here's why it's so significant. Number one, Kyle Juszczyk was still able to get back out and lead for the running back. That's number one. Number two, those guys moving allowed the offensive line and tight ends to be able to get to them. So by that happening and then running out that way, Trent Williams was able to get to the outside linebacker. Jake Brendel was able to get to the Mike linebacker, and the tight end, I think it was George Kittle, was able to get to the third linebacker. It was phenomenal execution, but it's all created because you don't have those angles on those linebackers if Kyle Juszczyk's motion doesn't influence them so much, right? Then all of a sudden, Trent Williams is having to try to go reach a linebacker that's out here. He's going to have him outflanked. So then he's going to have to kick him out, and you're going to have to turn the play in where all the defenders are. But now if he can get in front of him, which we saw, and in fact, I think Dominic Pooney was the guy on the other side, not George Kittle, that got the third guy now that I'm thinking about it. They all outflanked those guys all the way down the field, and it created a huge opportunity, and it was a great play. And that's even with Nick Zakelj giving up some penetration. He got knocked back a yard or two. But because it was a toss play, because everything was out on the edge, you were able to have a big run. Those are some of the things that Kyle Shanahan did in this game. This running attack that Kyle Shanahan and Chris Foerster, the game plan they put together, it executed so well against the Atlanta Falcons defense. And the Atlanta Falcons defense wasn't exactly the best rush defense in the NFL, that's for sure. They were giving up 115 yards per game. But the 49ers took advantage of every single weakness that they had in the running game. They executed at a high level, just what they needed to do. And McCaffrey had 129 yards on the ground. 49ers got extra yards from Brian Robinson. They just really executed. And it felt like the run game could pop at any moment. Now, still haven't had the plus 20-yard run yet. Everything has been about 15 yards or under. But make no mistake, they're starting to get those drive-churning plays. And I think where it's the most evident is you get to the red zone. 49ers have 2 rushing touchdowns in the red zone this week against the Atlanta Falcons. I talked about how I felt like the run game in the red zone was going to get better. In fact, I predicted on my wildest bold predictions they'd have their second rushing touchdown. They did, back-to-back weeks. I called for a rushing touchdown. It happened. But the way it happened, the blocks inside. So that first touchdown where McCaffrey does the somersault and stands up, give you guys an emphasis on what's going on on the inside. Dominic Pooney and Colt McKivitz absolutely destroy their guys. Destroy them. Completely hit them and knock them all the way down. And it creates, when Connor Kobe pulls, he comes and he gets just enough. And there's this hole for Christian McCaffrey to come through. It does not happen without the dominance of Dominic Pooney and Colt McKivitz. It's phenomenal. We all know the second one, right, it's the nonstop play of Matt Hennessy and Connor Kobe and the legs churning of Christian McCaffrey and the effort that helped McCaffrey get into the end zone for the second one. But the first one is just dominance. And Colt McKivitz, dominated in this game when it came to run blocking. The dude was good. He was driving people off the ball. He was getting vertical. That's what I liked about some of the 49ers run game this week. Everything wasn't just side to side. Everything wasn't just zone. Everything wasn't just picking up linebackers. There were times where the 49ers got vertical. It was, hey, let's blow this guy up. Let's push him back. And I thought that Colt McKivitz did a really good job on that. So interior offensive line played well. Offensive tackles did well. Of course, would they want plays back where maybe they didn't play it as good as they should? Absolutely. But for the most part, it was really good. And Kyle Shanahan's scheme for it was great. And I got to mention the 49ers wide receivers were so good. Kendrick Bourne, Jawan Jennings, Demarcus Robinson, Sky Moore. These guys were coming in. Even Sky Moore throwing blocks and getting involved. Kendrick Bourne had a couple that sprung McCaffrey. It was a really good game, top to bottom, for the 49ers running game. Now I want to talk about Mac Jones, because Mac Jones wasn't asked to do a lot in this game. His numbers aren't incredibly impressive, but that's what happens when you run the ball effectively. You're not expected, to put up big numbers when it comes to the passing attack. And I felt like the run game was more effective in this game than I thought it was going to be. I thought that maybe they would come close to 100 yards, probably around 35 carries, if they could get it. But 39 carries for 174, they were definitely a lot better than even I anticipated. But Mac Jones was 17 of 26 for 152 yards. He had the one INT, can't put it on him. That's on Jawan Jennings. 2 weeks in a row, his wide receivers have caused him to turn over the football. It wasn't a phenomenal performance. He really checked it down underneath. I thought that one thing I was concerned about Mac a little bit was there were open receivers over the middle of the field that he didn't go to. He had Kendrick Bourne on the play where Connor Kobe had to steal the ball away, which, bounced to him from the Atlanta defender. He had Kendrick Bourne. Would it have been a first down? I don't know. Would have been close. Play was designed for Kendrick Bourne. He didn't go that direction on time like he's supposed to, and that didn't work out. I felt like he missed Demarcus Robinson on the 49ers' first drive when they stalled out. He waited for Jawan Jennings, and it was Demarcus Robinson who was open. In fact, if Demarcus Robinson gets thrown to like he should have, right there in the progression, he's probably ran all the way inside the 20-yard line. It was at least a field goal for the 49ers and probably a touchdown drive. That was a miss. There are some misses right now from Mac Jones. Most of them are happening over the middle of the field. Is he a little gun shy? I don't know. Maybe he just didn't like the looks. I'm not sure. But it did make me concerned a little bit about Mac over the middle because I thought there were some opportunities there. Now, I still have confidence. I still believe against the Houston Texans, he can play good football and the 49ers can win. But got to keep it real. There were some of those things, and with that, there were some great plays. Him escaping the pocket, getting out there, finding Christian McCaffrey, him locating the one-on-ones. McCaffrey versus linebackers was good. I thought that the one down the stretch at 3rd and 14 in the fourth quarter, and you've got George Kittle coming this way, and he gets double teamed. You get McCaffrey out of the backfield, and you got a one-on-one look, and he just unleashed it. Those are great reads. So I thought that Mac Jones had some really good plays, and then there was a couple here and there. I wish he would just kind of let it go. Just kind of, some of the coaching points. I'm sure that's exactly what his coaches are going to tell him. Hey, look, Mac, you missed this. You got to get it. So just keeping it real. But, Mac Jones is still playing good enough football for the 49ers to win. And I still think he's a starting caliber football player in this league. And so I'm going to continue to talk about the good things he does and the negative, just like everybody. But overall, he did enough to win, and the 49ers run game really took over this game, and that's what was important. So let's talk about the defense a little bit. I got to talk about Tatum Bethune because I thought that there were some things on film that really looked good from Tatum, and he continues to develop. I thought one thing that was interesting is the 49ers did not hesitate to put Tatum Bethune in all kinds of tough situations. One of them, he's lined up one-on-one with Kyle Pitts. Now, he doesn't make the play, but I don't think he looked like he was completely out of water either. He looked like he understood what he was supposed to do. It's just a tough matchup. But him in the run game, there are some plays. He was really good in run fits. I thought he did a great job of calling the defense, making sure everyone was in the right place. You didn't see a lot of confusion or a lot of late movement. It happened occasionally, a lot of times along the defensive line. But there was really good communication between Tatum Bethune, D. Winters, and the secondary. And I thought that was just as important if not more important than the plays that he made as far as tackling, running guys down, being in the right spots, was how well he communicated and how well he played as a leader. So I thought that was really good. Now, Robert Saleh was phenomenal. Robert Saleh ran some man coverage in this game, and the 49ers defensive backs did not let him down. But his blitz combinations with some of his fire zone blitzes, dropping defensive ends out, bringing linebackers, bringing nickel and safety coverage guys was really good. I thought Robert Saleh really had a great game plan against the Atlanta Falcons. He made them feel uncomfortable. His personnel decisions were great. For an example, the Atlanta Falcons is how you're going to designate Kyle Pitts is huge. I talked about that in the game preview show. Is he a tight end or is he a wide receiver? I kept saying I hope the 49ers look at him as a wide receiver because he's not really a good blocker, but that way you get an extra defensive back. First series of the game, I think the 49ers and Robert Saleh felt that Atlanta was going to try to get a run game going with Bijan Robinson, and so they went to their base 4-3. They put out Luke Gifford, and Luke Gifford came in there and he was playing the first series. After that, they went to big nickel, and they started playing Jason Pennick, and Jason Pennick was out there. And they were designating Kyle Pitts as a receiver, but a big receiver. So it was interesting to see that personnel grouping. And then when they would get to third and long, they would put Chase Lucas in place of Jason Pennick. So Pennick was in there more to battle the big receivers and to come help in the run, a 3-safety look per se. So I thought that it was a very good game plan from Robert Saleh, from mixing in coverages, from showing zone and running man to showing man and just running man to bringing blitzes and then fire zones. I thought he did a really good job. So I was very impressed with what Robert Saleh was capable of doing in this game. I thought he did great. And he used his personnel to the best of their abilities, right? So he's going to put all the guys that are going to be good in certain situations in there on certain situations. That's what makes them successful. Line stunts, things like that. I mean, it really was a masterclass from Robert Saleh on how to slow down a very talented running back, using Marquise Siegel to be there for him or Malik Mustafa. They were not going to let Bijan Robinson have explosive plays that were going to hurt them. Even when they lost their starting corner, Bernardo Green, they still had a guy that could step in and make some plays in Darrell Luter Jr. because it fit within the defense. That they did a great job. And I want to talk about the 49ers safeties because I thought that Marquise Siegel was the best around the line of scrimmage of any of the safeties. And Malik Mustafa is great. But Marquise Siegel, there's one play, he's all the way over on the left, and they are going to run the ball with Bijan Robinson on 3rd and 1 over to the defense's right or the offense's left, and he's all the way outside of the right tackle, and he comes all the way back over and gets there before Bijan Robinson makes the line of scrimmage and made Bijan Robinson go the other way, and Robinson has to bounce outside. Now, he gets the first, but he just cut it off. It would have been a big play. He cut it off because of his ability to read things and his speed and his instincts, and it went over. And the 49ers almost got a stop on the play. It was a really great play. There's other ones. He comes flying in the box and makes tackles. Marquise Siegel is really good around the box. In fact, I think he's the best 49er safety around the box. I think Malik Mustafa made some great plays too. It was nice having him back. There's one play where he tackles Bijan Robinson about 5 yards down the field coming from the backside safety. Had walked into the box and was playing 8-man in the box. He was the outside linebacker. And if he doesn't make that tackle, there's a really good chance Bijan Robinson goes into the end zone for a touchdown. They had blocked it up really good. He comes like a heat-seeking missile, makes the tackle, gain of 5, but it could have been a touchdown. I thought he did good. He looked like he was getting his legs back underneath him. That was really great to see. And then Jair Brown, when it comes to coverage, he did some good things. There's one play I got to highlight. He's coming on a blitz, and he recognizes that Bijan Robinson's about to escape and not try to pick him up, and he ran with them and took him away. Give him props for that. Was it all clean for all these guys? No. Right? You still had some misses here and there. Malik Mustafa struggled one-on-one with Kyle Pitts. Who doesn't when you're a safety against a big, receiving type tight end like that? I thought that was a moment for him, but he had so many good plays. You liked it. Jair Brown not being there, getting turned around on some of the deep passes. That happened a little bit. And then Marquise Siegel really was pretty clean. I actually liked what he did for the most part. One time I thought maybe he was out of position in zone coverage, but it was really good. And then I want to talk about the defensive line just for a second. And I know Bryce Huff's going to be out this week, but I thought Bryce Huff was phenomenal. I thought Samu Kawanu battled in this game. Alfred Collins continues to impress. It was nice having Jordan Elliott making some plays. He was generating pressure. 49ers defensive line just won't stop. They just won't quit. They keep coming after you, and they keep finding ways to generate pressures. And they got 2 sacks against Michael Penix, and it was almost more than that, right? They had the Tatum Bethune one that was taken away because of illegal contact. So it was a constant for the 49ers bringing pressure. I think that's good news. They held up against the run, held the Atlanta Falcons, rushing attack completely down. I thought they did a good job. So it was a fun film to watch. 49ers coming up big in the biggest moments. And of course, I talked about Chase Lucas on the episode yesterday. And so if you want to get more breakdowns about some of the stock up 49ers, guys like Chase Lucas, go check that out. Deeper breakdowns of those guys. That's available because Chase Lucas, once again, proved to be good. But I love the uses of the personnel groupings. Kyle Shanahan, Robert Saleh, phenomenal. Players' execution, really, really good. It was a fun game to watch. That was Upon Further Review. Please like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. If you're listening on audio platform, 49ers Cutback on Believe Network. Just give it a 5-star rating. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Until then, stay safe. Remember, the right way is always the 49ers way.